Hey everyone, today is Thursday the 24th of January 2019. This is the Gap episode 452. I'm Luke Lawrie. Joab Gilroy is on the line.
I am on the line. I'm holding the line.
Are you there, Joab?
Oh, yeah, calling in here, live from Sydney. Why are we doing this? How many, 450 fucking episodes?
Surely we've done that joke once.
Yeah, 100% we must have. Surely. Because it's one of the... Maybe we never went for the low-hanging fruit. And now we're 450 eps in, and it's all we've got left is low-hanging fruit. I think that makes sense.
Trying to reinvent ourselves 10 years in.
As a Zoot crew, could we do an episode? We should do theme episodes where we just do episodes where we could do one where we're Joe Rogan, where the Joe Rogan experience, and you can be what's his face, the producer guy,
sure,
and I'll be like, Luke, pull up that clip. Pull up that clip of the cat playing with his balls.
And I'll fumble around for 10 minutes trying to get it to work.
Let's do it. All right, I like it. And then we'll do a Zoot crew. We could do sound effects. Well, what's your Zoot crew name? Loose Luke. It's Loose Luke and the Joab. We've actually we made up names like that once, didn't we? I can't remember.
Not sure. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure we did.
Anyway. When we used to do skits.
We did.
That was terrible.
That was 440 episodes ago.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll tell you what though. Looking back at those episodes, all those years ago, Darksiders and Bayonetta started this stupid trend that we've got going on now, where video games must come out in Q1. Remember when it used to be quiet?
Yep.
Nothing would happen, and you'd relax, and you'd write about just news and things like that. I reckon this last week has been the busiest week I've had, compared to anything I did last year. It's been crazy.
I reckon if you look back far enough, there are definitely, the early years of this podcast, we didn't even come back until, February. Because there was just
halfway
nothing
through
to
June.
fucking talk about. Yeah.
E3,
E3, I guess we'll come back. It's time to return. But now, it's Darksiders, I think, that released, January 3 or some shit, right? That was the one that really fucked it.
Yeah.
Fucking THQ. Classic Stitch.
That's why they're not around anymore. Because everyone's I'm sick of it.
They broke the unspoken accord.
Yeah. So I've done, I think, 4 previews in the last week, which we technically I started working again last week.
Yeah.
And I've done 4 previews. It's been nuts. It's been crazy.
Yeah.
I went to bed one night at about 4:30, I think it was, in the morning. I was up writing previews.
Fuck that.
Yeah. And then there's another game which we'll talk about next week, which I thought was the embargo is today.
Yep.
And I was like, there's no way I'm getting this done because I'm just so smashed. I was out at previews 2 days, 3 days in a row, and then having to write about it. One of the previews is literally the next day. Well, and so is one of the games we'll talk about, which is I saw yesterday's today, but I don't have to write about that one, which is handy because we can talk about it on here.
Okay.
But it's just been some of them have been a little bit inconvenient for their embargo times.
Yeah.
When they're hey, it's tomorrow, and you're oh, thanks.
I've noticed that is happening a lot more recently. Yeah. I did have a panic. I'm going to Japan on the weekend for a preview event, and I had a panic because they sent the wrong NDA through at first.
Right.
They sent one through for a previous event, and it said that I was embargoed until today, and so I was in a bit of a panic because I'm am I flying across the world to see stuff everyone's already gonna have written about,
or played?
Should I just go live it up in Japan, just have fucking fun in Japan? Because apparently, I won't be doing any work because I'd be writing for I'm writing for Red Bull on this trip, and if it was they did Red Bull International dropped a whole bunch of game stuff. I may have just given it away. But they dropped a whole bunch of stuff today. Independent of this trip that I'm going on, they dropped a whole bunch of Anthem stuff. And if Anthem were the game that I was going to Japan for, then I would
You'd be pretty annoyed.
upset, right? Like, but instead, I'm going to be seeing different stuff, and so the NDA that they sent me is for a different date. But yeah, where was I going with it? Oh yeah, it's just weird. Like, it seemed like the NDA for that one was like on the fucking, like, even before I got to see it, and I definitely noticed that a couple of times last year. A couple of embargoes for things that dropped before I'd even had a chance to play it, and you're just like I'll definitely talk about it on the Gap, but
what am I doing? Why am I here?
How am I selling this? Right, like, it's easy. It's easy if you're a staff writer for a place, and like, especially I think. I wouldn't say you've got it easy, but like it doesn't. There's no like challenge to pitching for work if you're the only person in the vicinity who can fucking play it, like you are for a couple of the games we're going to talk about. But yeah, if I'm like competing with every other motherfucker, and I'm coming in 2 days after embargo, it's rough.
Yeah.
But it is,
unless you've got interviews and things like that. That can be a bit different.
Yeah, that's always like, but
even then they're like, we're not talking about that right now, and like, here are the things that we want to hit. Usually, I don't know, sometimes those types of interviews can be good, and sometimes they're just like, radio, you're here to talk about this new like thing that everybody else has asked the same question about,
or they fly out someone who could never give you the answers to the questions you have, you know? And so you don't even lay the fault at the person who isn't able to answer your questions. Like, that's not on them. You just... Yeah. I don't even know what you're supposed to ask a community manager, to be honest. How are you going to manage this community? Close your eyes. Pray
I think
they
that's
don't get
changing.
upset about shit.
Like, a lot. When we spoke to the community director, for Insomniac, I think people like that are fine. Like, he's part of the development team, and he knows, he's been there since the start, knows all the stuff. But some, and not to detract from it, but some community managers are literally just there to PR on of social media. That's their job. But you get some that are like actually involved in the development and part of teams and like all that sort of thing. So sometimes it'd be good. They know what they're talking about, man. Like, we got some good stories out of the Insomniac stuff. And there's other times where I've spoken to people that are, you know, community managers or something like that, and there's usually good stuff you can get out of them. But other times it's like they just don't really have much, which is unfortunate.
It's just not the job that they're hired to do, you know.
Right.
And so you can't blame them for it. Like, they're generally to do other stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's never. It's always one of those things. They're like, oh, well, they want to talk to someone from the team, right? But yeah,
and it's Australia. Who the fuck we got to send all the way out there? And
right?
they do like a draw straws or something. It's like
Yeah. It's the middle of summer. It's 40 fucking degrees. Who's going down? Nobody.
But in saying that, we had they had three Far Cry developers at this event, and they're all from I believe the Canadian studio, so they were pretty happy with being here, because over there right now it is freezing. I think the first thing that they did was they said they went for a swim because it was brilliant.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you fucking would, right? Like, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're probably happy with being here.
Yeah. Still.
Yeah.
Still. I'd always rather it be cold than hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On today, what is supposed to be the hottest day somewhere.
Adelaide.
We're always
I think
breaking
it's Adelaide,
something.
right? It's like 50 degrees down there or some shit. That's bananas. Fuck that shit.
That is stupid. Luckily, we're not there.
Luckily.
All right, should we kick... I mean, we've kicked it off, but let's kick off with some Dota, I think.
Okay.
This is something that we watched last week, but we didn't actually talk about it.
Yeah.
We forgot to talk about it. True Sight, the Dota 2 documentary on the International 2018, which was in, I believe, August, in Canada, right? They moved it to Canada.
Yep.
This year because the Seattle stadium was being renovated.
So it was in Vancouver, right?
Yes.
Yes. But there's a Vancouver in the States and a Vancouver in the Canada. But this is in the Canadian Vancouver, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
What I think they've done in the past with some of these documentaries is followed teams through their journey, or like through the sort of early group stages, and then some of them have been quite lucky and gotten through to the grand finals. And I don't know if that's because they were filming all the teams and doing that, or if they just got lucky picking the right teams. But this one, or the last couple in particular, they've kind of just focused on the grand final. And that's what this one is. It is a grand final sort of breakdown, looking at behind the scenes, the teams talking to each other behind the scenes, what happens during breaks, what's happening during things like pick and ban phases, what's going down during the game, communication, and you get like a bit of an insight into what these teams are saying and what's sort of going through their minds as they're playing for a $30-40 million prize pool. Yeah, man, and I think it's a really cool insight. Like you don't actually get to see a lot of this stuff usually, like how they communicate, what they're sort of they're going through. Because in my mind, I just feel like it's complete mayhem in that booth, and and that's not really what comes across when you actually get to hear these guys talk and sort of what they're going through. They're very, what seems to be quite relaxed, like they've maybe done this hundreds of times before. And you've got tens of thousands of people in a stadium behind you, which it seems like you can sort of still hear that crowd. I guess you're not hearing specifics of what's going on with the other team, but you can definitely, seems like you can hear cheering and people chanting, for team names and things like that.
Go home OG and shit.
Yes, yeah, right. And so they must still feel that pressure and like that there's people there watching them.
Yeah.
Not as much as like going to a basketball game or like a soccer stadium filled with 80,000 people, but that's still definitely there.
A layer removed, but still far closer to the action than you would be at almost any other time playing esports.
Right, yeah. So it's really interesting to always see how that comes across and just how different my perceptive sort of what they'd be going through, which is cool. And I think it's a great documentary. Like the way they show, like talking about strategies and picks and bans. Like that's it's really fun to watch, and it's a good moment. Like it's the fact that I think that actual grand final is probably one of the best grand finals we've seen in esports history. Kind of helps a little bit. It wasn't like a 3-0. It was a back and forward. Best of five, sorry, and it went to 5. Yeah, but also you had some really tense moments where in things like Game 4, it went to one team was absolutely dominating and then it flipped in the last couple of minutes. Things like that is makes for good TV.
I think they did a good job. I do wish. I think OG's run throughout that international though was so storied. There was so much that they could have spoken about that just focusing on the grand final is a bit of a it's a bit of a rip-off, I guess, because there's so much else they could have talked about. They could have talked about EG, because they faced off with them, right? OG and EG, and there was fucking bad blood. There was quality bad blood. There was beef in EG versus OG. They faced off against LGD earlier. They barely scraped their way into the winners bracket. It was fucking weird, right? The OG story is weird because they barely scraped their way into the fucking finals at all, the international at all. Then they barely scraped their way into the fucking winners bracket by coming fourth in their group. And then like clear sailing from there. It was like, oh well, we're here now.
Should turn up. Yeah.
Let's go to the fucking finals.
But on top of that, you had the story about Anna coming out of retirement just before the international, and then having their coach become a player.
Yeah,
Just
or
like-
Thompson getting like picked from fucking solo queue and
Nowhere.
shit. Like,
yeah, from a pub star.
yeah, yeah. There's so many little bits of stories like telling that they could have used, and so it does feel a little bit of a shame, like a bit of a shame for them to just go with the finals. Nevertheless, it was fantastic. I watched it with my wife because she was working from home, and I'm like, I'm watching this at lunch. You can, have to, I guess, but you'll have to go into the bedroom because I'm watching it out on the TV. I'm watching it in the lounge room, and so she watched it, and she was like, "Oh, I'll probably just watch a couple of minutes. I'll just eat my lunch and then go back to work." She watched the whole thing. She was fucking enthralled, because it had traditional fucking storytelling genius elements to it. She guessed, she didn't immediately remember that OG won, even though she should have, because I've got an OG shirt and I definitely talked about it a lot. She didn't, but she at the advent of Game 5 when the LGD team were walking out and they seemed a bit snippy at each other. She's like, they're gonna lose. You can tell they're gonna lose, and I'm like, oh yeah, fair enough. And she's like, yeah, look at how good OG are with one another, and look at how snippy LGD are. That LGD's already lost, and that there was a lot you could learn about how LGD beat themselves out of that fucking documentary.
Right.
They obviously OG played their fucking hearts out, but LGD were beaten at the draft in Game 5 because they had no fucking idea. They were sitting there why? Why would they pick this?
Why are they picking this? Yeah.
Yeah, they could not fathom a win condition for OG. So how could they work out how to stop that path to victory? How could they put a stop to that path to victory if they can't even imagine it? And so yeah, they were pretty screwed. That nevertheless, I mean, they're fucking amazing. I think LGD come off so awesome in that because they are so professional. They're so fucking locked in on what they want to achieve. I think it's easy to come away with the idea that OG are, these plucky heroes who made it work and whatever the fuck. And I think that's all true, but at the same time, LGD went in. They were the fucking the Russian team in the Mighty Ducks 3 or whatever the fuck it was, whichever one where they were.
Iceland.
Right, Iceland.
I know this because I watched it the other day. I watched all three of them.
They were Ivan Drago up in this shit, minus, Peds or whatever. They were going in, locked in, destined to win. And yeah, it seemed like as soon as their confidence shook a little, it just got extremely difficult for them to accomplish that.
Yeah. And there's some of my favorite moments, and I messaged you about this one. There's a part in one of the rounds where OG, I think they come back from a fight and they start attacking the other base, and they end up taking, I think, the two of the barracks, and they're fighting maybe for the top one. And there's a part where Anna, so their carry player, goes back and initiates on their team and gets in a bit of trouble. And then their position, I think he was position 5, most likely, their IO jumps in and uses their ultimate ability, which is relocate. And relocate tethers you to another player. And then after a countdown, or even it starts a countdown, and you can then tether to a player. And the person that you're tethered to, it'll transport you to wherever you've selected on the map. And so, because Anna's in trouble getting attacked, they transporting back to the home base and then starts healing again. And then they're like, and then it cuts to them talking to each other. And they're in this, $30-40 million tournament, and they're messing around and being like, hey, Anna, you want to go back?
Yeah.
That type of thing. Like, because after you relocate, there's like another, countdown, 8-second countdown, or however long it is. And then IO goes back to where they left. And if the other person is still attached to them, they bring them back. But if they detach, then IO just goes. And it kind of like sacrifices your position 5 player, which is fine. You don't want to lose your position 1 player because they're worth more gold and experience and whatnot. So he made a good move, but he was messing around being like, hey, do you want to go back? And Anna's like, fuck no. What are you doing? Like, they're just messing around in that game. Like, they're having fun still.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty stark difference between the two teams.
Yeah, and there's another moment where during the drafting phase, like, they didn't know what they were going to pick. And they were just like, I don't know, you pick whatever you feel like you want to play, you play it. Yeah. And he's like, I want to play Ember. He's like, we'll play Ember and we'll win then. And they played Ember, and that was game 5. That was the last game. They didn't have any strategy other than, hey, Anna, what do you want to play today? Yeah. Anna said, I want to play Ember. They picked Ember, and Anna went on a rampage.
Yeah. A sleight of fist rampage.
Yeah, they weren't sitting there being like, here, this is what that we're going to use. We're going to try and counter this, blah, blah, blah. They just, so casual, such a different contrast between the two teams. Yeah.
And, I think that level of confidence really showed, like that was the big takeaway. I liked one of the things you didn't mention, but they did all this CG stuff where they animated like moments from a different perspective, and so they got the axe save moment from Seb. That might be like the moment of that tournament in particular.
That's all just in game.
Was it?
Yeah, that's in game. Like, that's how. Have you seen the in-game cinematics that people create? They do like a movie.
Oh, right. I thought you meant it was in. Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah. Like machinima, although
that's what it is.
It's been shut down,
I guess.
Absolutely. But I thought it was a really good addition to the.
You're not seeing the normal top-down.
Yeah,
kind of what's happening,
altering the perspective so that you get a different idea of like it really conveys the epicness of the situation in particular. Mm-hmm. That was pretty good. It was all around pretty good. There was I guess my only gripe is that there was so much to that run that you could also talk about.
True Sight 2 or something. Like that.
The rest of the international. There's so much to it, and it was really really worth watching though. If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. Even if you don't have a huge interest in Dota, I don't think it matters because, like I said, my wife worked it all out. So I don't see why anyone else couldn't, because she's got no interest in Dota at all, but anyone can appreciate great competition.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it doesn't go too heavy into like the intricacies of like what's going on and like the plays. They occasionally show some big stuff and then kind of what the players are saying about that. But otherwise, it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff as well.
Yep.
Which is good. Yeah, man, I enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome. Really good.
Yep.
To watch.
Yep.
All right, what can we talk about games-wise? Let's go with... do we have anything to talk about with Sea of Thieves? Anything extra? I know we played a little bit.
I don't think so. I went on... check out my video. Race is the worst pirate ever. You feature in it, Luke, if you haven't watched it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah? Did you see the end? Where you were the worst pirate ever?
I can't remember.
You mustn't have watched all the way to the end. Unbelievable. But anyway, been playing with Racy a bunch and his mate Savaka. Mm-hmm. Savaka's a streamer who has a friend who is like a pirate legend. Who goes in and like gives him a pirate legend quest, and then will go play with his other friends.
Right, cool.
And so Savaka can do like Athena quests. So I joined in on one of those. It was pretty interesting. They're fucking epic. I came in apparently in the last leg, and it was still hectic. Like, super involved.
You like fighting skeletons and things like that?
Skeletons, digging, shit tons of chests. Like, fuck tons of chests. Yeah, like, there's heaps of shit going on. We were doing I think it's Ashen Athena quest.
Right.
So that means we had to do it in the Devil's Butthole. So you would have loved it, because fucking volcanoes popped off at least 6 times that we attempted to land somewhere, make landfall. But yeah, it was just it was good fun. I still enjoy it. One thing I did notice, because I've been reading up on Sea of Thieves quite a bit, is hey,
you've got spreadsheets going now.
I'm not there yet, but fuck, the meta. Apparently, the meta is the 2-gun meta.
Yeah, they're gonna change that.
Yeah, they have to. It's disgusting. But the other meta is sneaking meta. I saw people were talking about, the sneaking meta, and then someone was like, "What sneaking meta?" And they're like, "Oh, Summit invented this style of play where you sneak onto people's boats." I'm like, "Motherfucking what? Summit invented what?" Literally everyone did that. The entire time. What have these motherfuckers been doing in this game if they have not been sneaking onto other people's boats? That's 99% of why I play Sea of Thieves. Like, it drives me bananas when I'm the only motherfucker competent enough to drive a fucking boat. Because I'd much rather be on the other boat. Sneaking on board.
Because if you're not on the boat, Joe, we're on land.
I know! It's infuriating. But at least, turning a wheel is fun as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Summit, the Sea of Thieves has gone off like the last two weeks or something. Like it's back up there in terms of like Twitch views. I think Summit. I was reading like Summit's maybe taken over Ninja. I don't know how true that was. He did respond to it, and he was just like, we don't really know, that type of thing. But yeah, man, like all the big streamers have been back on Sea of Thieves again.
Well, I saw Ninja switch to it yesterday. So, I mean, yeah. There's a swing happening. Right. It's definitely one of those games where it is entertaining. There's downtime. I mean, it's different to I guess some other games in that sense. There is a bit of downtime. There is time to chat and stuff like that. On the flip side, when it pops off, it's high octane action, and it's quite exciting. I mean, yeah, I don't watch any Twitch streams except for esports. Right. I don't know how the fuck Sea of Thieves Arena is going to work. I've no idea. It doesn't mentally make sense to me as an esport, because I mean it'd be like DayZ esports, just wouldn't ever work really. But yeah, it's like I could see why people would enjoy watching it, and yeah, they've done enough, almost enough, I think, to get it to a place where it is exactly what they always want it to be.
Right.
They just need to go. I think we've spoken about what they need to do to make it more, to encourage interactions more, social interactions that don't involve murder.
Yeah, just griefing for the...
Yeah.
Griefing. Yeah. I'm looking forward to this next patch. I don't know when it's dropping, but they haven't done a patch since like November.
Yeah,
other than the one they did maybe last week where they changed the way the file structure worked. So you're downloading like patches for the game, and it's sort of patching the game as opposed to adding onto the game. So you end up with these file sizes that were kind of expanding quite large. But yeah, no, it's a good, and apparently it'll let them do patches quicker, which is good, because I mean that's something that'd be awesome in games like Battlefield, where I feel like Battlefield has been a game where they've rolled out updates, and then rather than patching it, like that one they did a while back, it was pretty broken and they couldn't patch it, so they just rolled it back. Whereas this last one that they released, Chapter 2, there's big bugs in that one and they haven't patched it at all yet. It drives me insane. It's so strange.
Like, yeah, it's definitely one of those. It definitely has to change from that perspective. Oh fuck! They need to capitalize on all this attention.
Yeah, yeah, man, keep it rolling. And I think if they keep doing that, then because I'm still having fun with it, I like jumping in. Even just running around solo, just doing a voyage and going to an island and digging for holes. Sometimes it's fun because you don't know what you're gonna come across. Across. It's just so rare. My favorite. I did watch this. I watched the highlight from Dr. Disrespect. And he jumped in and was learning to play, and he got krakened like as soon as he left. He didn't know what was going on. Like he just fired it up. And I'm like, that is. I feel like a developer was watching and was like, watch this. And did something and made that happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, see it, Thieves.
Yep.
Very good. We'll talk about Katana Zero.
Oh yeah.
So we both got a code for this, and I believe it was announced at PAX South. Is that the one?
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Over the weekend, and yeah, man. So we got some codes for this, and I don't know how much was on display at PAX, whether or not it was the same demo. But we've gotten the code, and it's a pretty big chunk of it. I've played a couple hours. Looks like you've played a couple as well. Do you want to talk about sort of what it is exactly?
Yeah, it's a Mark of the Ninja type game where you sort of. It's a side-scrolling platformer type dealio where it's focused on combat, and you play this weeb dude who is able to sort of rewind time, and he's also able to see through time or see the future or something like that. Basically,
it's like precognitive abilities, something like that.
And so what he's able to do is he's able to do a level until he successfully completes it, and then he's able to use that version of reality, I guess, right. As his preferred reality, and that's basically it. You've got a sword, and you're able to pick up items to throw them, but that's about it. There's no guns or anything like that. And yeah, it is one of those murderous puzzle games in the same vein as Mark of the Ninja or that other game that I got obsessed with for a little while. Deadbolt. Very much in the same vein. You're just trying to solve the puzzle of each level, and each level is constructed in such a way as to make you think about the construction, the layout of it to get through it.
Because I mean, at the start of the game, at least the bits that I've played, the puzzles can be quite quick. They can be over in like 5 seconds, but it might take you minutes to solve. Type thing.
Yeah. And it does, like, it replays how you've gone through it at the end, like how you've played through the level at the end, and you can slow down time, but when it does the replay, it does it at regular speed, which is cool. So it just sort of makes you look like a badass. You're like doing that, grabbing a mug and throwing at someone, and then chopping another person, and then rolling underneath someone. And yeah, there's like elements of the game that you need to properly understand to fully solve the puzzles, like the ability to roll, your iframes while you're rolling, you're invincible, and the ability to like chop bullets back at their where they were fired from. That kind of stuff. It takes a bit of doing to get to a point where yeah, you fully mastered that kind of stuff. But once you get there, it's good. There's some interesting storytelling. There's definitely an interesting story in there.
There's a lot of story.
Yeah. And yeah, it takes a bit of digging before, like, until you can get sort of to the meat of it. But on the other hand, I believe we're not allowed to talk about that stuff.
Right. I think we can. What we were allowed to talk about was up until the first boss.
Yeah. I honestly don't know who that is exactly.
I haven't seen him yet.
And
I feel like
have
I've played
seen
a
a
bit.
couple of bosses, so I'm pretty confused.
Yeah.
None of them look like the image I was shown of what the first boss looks like. So this game is a lot bigger than I thought, and I've just fought a lot of sub bosses.
Yeah.
Or the picture's incorrect. But anyway, so we'll just avoid the story. And basically, it's just it's a good puzzle, like a really good violent puzzle game
With a weird story.
With quite a weird story. And there's a bit of
It's like RPG-ish. Like you're
choice stuff going on.
Yeah,
right?
you're given choices and you can choose them. And I don't know if it's affecting the story at all, but it seems like it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are some that definitely... Well, actually, they 100% are.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can talk about which. But, like, there definitely are some choices that affect the story. And that's pretty cool.
I think the way that it does, like, the aesthetic of some of those choices as well, the way it's... When you select them or if you interrupt them is a really cool effect.
Yeah.
Because it's all text-based. Like, there's no talking.
Yeah.
There's no voice dialogue or anything. You're sort of just reading text and choosing text prompts that come up on the display. But the way it shows that on the screen is interesting, and the way that like it's also overlays sound effects to sort of just like give you an idea of what's going on is interesting, because it sort of adds that dynamic a little bit.
Yeah.
My only criticism is, and this is obviously we're playing a preview build of a game that's just been announced, and it's not the final version. I'm a little bit confused about at the moment the replay system where you complete a mission and it shows you to replay what happened. It's I don't know, man. Like I don't know why we're having to see that all the time at the point of the game that I'm at. I don't know if I'm missing something yet, or if it's not completed. But very early on, like I feel like it doesn't add that much to what's going on.
Like I think it's mostly to get you accustomed to the concepts, but yeah, I don't think it adds that much. Like, I mean, you're not very far in, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm up to level 6, if that is any indication. You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
Not level 6, no.
Oh, okay. When you go to like the continue a new game or whatever, there's like tapes that you can put in, and it's like I guess I'm 6 many bosses in. But I don't feel like I'm at a point where I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that was cool. I understand why they're showing me now that it's sped up. Like I'm still using the slow down stuff, but it can get kind of tedious sometimes, unless they're going to add something more to it or it changes. Like because at the top of the screen there is a time limit on how long you've got to finish that map or that level. And at the moment, that bar is very long. Like it's not getting shorter, and so I'm not sure where they're going with it at the time being. But otherwise, that's it. That's the only thing I'm interested to kind of see how they evolve that part. Like if they end up just scrapping it completely. I guess it's there to give you the notion of that, like you're replaying these events, and then you're not actually playing that event. You're using your abilities to sort of see how it could play out. And then it's like, oh no, it didn't work that way. Let's go back and I'll show you how it really worked. Like I guess the Prince of Persia thing where, well, that's not how it happens, and then it reloads.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like Sands of Time was the game they sort of did that. Whereas in a game like Super Meat Boy, which we talked about last week, they do the replay system, but at the same time they're showing you all of your playthroughs at the same time and kind of what's going on. So it makes for like this little fun, like, oh, here's all the ways that I died, and then it like the progression of showing you how you completed that level of like, here's where I started, here's all the times I died at this bit, and then I got past that bit. Like, you can sort of see you figuring out how to beat that level. Whereas this is just kind of like just showing you beat the level without anything.
I just think it's supposed to be cool. I think it's just supposed to be like a cool addition.
But I'm skipping it every time it pops up.
Yeah, me too.
There are moments where
I've watched it once, I think.
Like the one in the prison where it doesn't show you your replay. I think that's an interesting concept. Things like that. But otherwise, I don't think it's adding a huge amount to the game so far. For where it's at. Anyway. But I think it's really cool. So it's really stylish. I didn't expect it to have as much story as what I'm getting. And the story that it is telling is interesting and unique. And weird. And I don't know where they're going with it. Like, I don't have any ideas what's going on. But yeah, man, it seems quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely keen to play more of it and get to the bottom of it. I just really like it's that sort of. I had it on my wish list way before we even got a code for it. So wow. I've been following it for a while. I love these sorts of games. Like the market of the ninja style game. It really gels with me. So yeah, I'll definitely continue to play it. I just have no idea how much we're allowed to talk about.
Yeah. If we get in trouble, we can just say we didn't see we won't get in trouble. We'll be fine. We said positive things about it.
Oh, look at us go.
Yeah.
Sellouts.
So that was called Katana Zero. It's from Devolver Digital.
Yeah. Is it out? It is not yet available. Oh, that's a bummer. It's available in March 2019. You can't purchase it.
Okay.
Gold. But yeah,
from ASCII Soft?
ASCII Soft, yeah.
ASCII Soft.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I could, I'll probably play it more when we finish this. Anyway, chuck it in your wish list, I reckon, just to keep an eye on it if those are your sorts of games. All right, what's next? I'm not fucking needed for the rest of this podcast.
You can go have a snooze.
I'd go back to fighting on Twitter. So I haven't played anything. I haven't played fucking anything this week. I've played Battlefield and a bit of Sea of Thieves and more Brawl Stars, and that's about it. So I haven't played anything new, really, so I've got nothing. So let's hear Luke talk about Trials Rising.
So yeah, Trials Rising. Which one? Have you played all of them, or how familiar are you?
I've played all of them. I'm extremely familiar with them. I like to say that I'm quite good at Trials games, but yeah, I don't know. Right. As good as you can be, I guess, at a game where ultimately the only person you're competing against is yourself, and you just need to actually finish a level. Really, I never really got into only in the sense that I wanted to stick it to people who did take the leaderboard extremely seriously. Then I took it quite seriously. Then I was all about beating other people on the leaderboard. But that was more, sticking it to people than it was genuinely caring about the leaderboards. Mostly if I finish a level, I'm happy.
Right.
With a good time. The gold time or whatever the fuck it was. As long as I can get a good time, that's it. That's all I really need out of every level. I don't feel a sense of competition except against myself in Trials games. I think we were talking about a game the other week, right? That had a sort of Trials-ish sense. Maybe it's in the fucking list. Maybe it's in the list.
We did talk about Trials Rising a couple of weeks back.
No.
I think it was last year sometime.
No.
No?
No. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it in the list. I don't know. But I was it's just definitely not the first time I've gotten that similar feeling of, pursuing competition against myself first and foremost versus anything else. Anyway, yeah, Trials Rising.
So yeah,
It's more of
Trials,
the same.
Trials Rising. Trials is a like a 2D, 2.5D racing game based off of a sport called Motorcycle Trials. You might have seen it on TV where it's just dudes on bikes, or ladies, dudes and ladies, on bikes, doing crazy like jumping on rocks and like trying to complete a course off of stupid obstacles. And I guess the quickest time as possible without sort of touching the grounds. And this is sort of like Ubisoft's take on it. They've been making these games for a really long time, and it is extremely arcadey, but also ridiculously over the top. With, like it's not exactly based on that where it's like you're out in the forest and jumping on giant rocks. It is you're out in ridiculous locations, like themed locations, doing stupid backflips over dumb obstacles, and explosions are going off in the backgrounds with these ridiculous physics and things that just don't make any sense. And yeah, that's kind of like that's the game. This is Trials Rising is the latest game since I think the last one was about 4 years ago, and that was received pretty well.
Yeah.
So they've been working on this one for quite a while.
Yep.
And I think they've done a couple of spin-offs with like the Blood Dragon stuff, like sort of smallish games, but not like a fully fledged Trials like game. So yeah, they've been working on this one for a while, and it is surprisingly a lot of fun for me because I've not really played a Trials game before.
Right.
I've sort of played it at like your house for a couple of minutes, or like at events where it's been on like an exhibition floor or something like that. I've never played it at a preview session before. I did talk about this at the end of last year when I got into the closed, I think I talked about it, the closed beta. I definitely played it and I had a lot of fun back then. And so this is kind of like my first sit down with a Trials game where I've actually spent some time with it as opposed to 2-3 minutes. So yeah, it is very different sort of what I expected it to be. And it is a lot of fun. The I guess its core idea, as you said before, is sort of getting from start to finish and earning these medals, but doing it as quickly as possible and as smoothly as possible. And that's kind of like where the replay factor sort of comes into it. Because you can finish a track stage, but depending on how well you did or how quickly you did that time, you can then go back and do it again and sort of like perfect it. And the idea is you've got these very basic, simple controls. There's like your acceleration or your throttle control. There is a brake control, and sort of your controlling your movement on the bike, like your pitch, like up and down. And that's about as basic as those controls get. But you've got to think about like you're not just holding the accelerator down the entire time and just gunning it. Like if there's certain ramps, you really want to hit the peaks and make sure you land your bike flat and make sure it's landed on the correct angle so that you get the most speed out of it. And that's sort of learning the track and trying to figure out what the fastest lines are in order to finish it as quickly as possible. And then, like, the competitive nature comes out in because you start playing for, like you said, your leaderboards and against your friends, and then being able to see their ghosts on the track and sort of how they did that track and how quick, like, what lines their rider took by looking at their ghosts. And that's kind of where it all sort of comes together, and that's, I guess, can get competitive as well, but at the same time, it's still very fun. The game that they've got is sort of set up to be like a world map, and they start you off with this tutorial system. It's called University Trials, and people would have seen this if they watched the E3 reveal video, where they brought out an Australian content creator called Professor Fat Shady. And he is a Trials content creator who's been making videos for a very long time. And he basically teaches people how to play the game in his content videos, or how to do specific bits in a track, like here's how you get over this obstacle, or here's what you should be doing. And he's just been doing that as like a hobby and doing that for fun. And they brought him on board to create a tutorial system in the game, and create these courses and sort of teach people how to play it from a basic level, but then also here's some advanced techniques. And then so that's kind of cool, like people taking their passion or their hobby and turning it into like being able to put that in a video game. So I had a chance to talk to him. He was at the event. He doesn't do this full time. Like he's got a job, like a full-time job, and he does these videos part-time, and he's also working with Ubisoft part-time as well. So that's an interesting, like I don't know any Australians that have sort of made that transition.
Yeah.
To sort of making content about video games and then being like, I'm going to make a game on the side with these people, like one of the biggest studios in the world. So yeah, that's kind of cool. But so you start off and it's like he gives you this explanation of here's how you accelerate, here's how you use your throttle control, because you don't always want to be going 100% of the time.
Yep.
And then from there it sort of puts you into some easy tracks, and then you finish the easy track, and then it unlocks more tracks as you get more medals. And it just keeps on sort of progressing as the game goes on. Things sort of ramp up a bit. They get a bit harder and harder as you go through. There are things like tournaments in the game where you'll play a series of races, and you'll earn medals for each race, and at the end of it totals it up. So it's sort of just like a normal mini tournament. There are like mini games in the game as well. The one that I played was you jump off of a ramp and sort of bail from your bike and land on some exploding barrels, and you need to boost yourself as far as possible and see, like, there are markings on the ground, and see how far you can get. Like I got 150 meters. So There's stupid things like that in the game. Each sort of track is themed, has like a specific theme to it. Like you'll start, I think the very first one is like in like a foresty area, like a traditional sort of motorcycle trials, what you'd expect from that sort of sport. And then it sort of starts ramping up, and you're in a construction site or an amusement park. There was an aircraft carrier at one point where you're riding on this aircraft carrier, and all of a sudden you're in the back of a plane that's in the air, and you're jumping across these ridiculous ramps and on the back of like floating like cars that are attached to the back of this plane, like really stupid fast, like something you see in the Fast and the Furious kind of thing. Dumb over the top stuff. There was, my favorite one was the Hollywood film set, and this one was cool because it had at one point a bit where you went through the inside of a studio lot that was all built out in like blue screen. Like there were bits of walls with blue on it, and then objects in the environment you're jumping over. And then all of a sudden, when you're in this lot, the screen sort of flickers, and then the blue screen disappears, and there's giant aliens like walking around and shooting lasers as you're doing these crazy flips and jumping through all these obstacles. And then once you get past that area, the screen flickers, and then you see the blue screen kick back in, and then off your right it goes again. Just like really cool moments like that, where it sort of adds, like, they don't need to do anything like that, but it sort of, they throw this stuff in the background that sort of sets it off, and it really makes it feel unique and different to any of the other tracks that you've seen. So that stuff is really cool. And
nice.
Yeah, it just feels like unique every sort of track that you jump in and do. And it seems to be a good progression from very easy to, I think extreme is like as high as it goes. It's like easy, medium, hard, and then maybe extreme. I did do one of the extreme maps, didn't finish it. Nate was in my session, he was sitting next to me, and he couldn't get past the first checkpoint because each track is sort of split up into checkpoints. When you get to a checkpoint, if you fall off your bike or anything like that, then it puts you back to the checkpoint. He couldn't get past the first jump, and I think he spent like 70 or 80 retries trying to get to this jump.
Nice.
I managed to get 3 or 4 checkpoints through. I didn't get halfway. So it can be quite difficult. But that's coming from somebody that's never played a Trials game before.
Yep.
And the cool thing was, it gave the opportunity for Professor Fat Shady, who was there, to bring up one of the videos he was working on his YouTube channel for. It was like, oh, I've got a tutorial on how to do this specific like jump on this map. Like, do you want to watch it quickly and just give me some feedback? And like, he whipped it up on his phone and like showed me the video, and I watched it and I was like, all right, cool. And then jumped back in the game and like started getting to that point. So I was like, okay, that's cool. That's handy. Like I could kind of see what movement he was doing on the bike and then sort of replicate that, because there is a on-screen indicator that you can switch on that will show you like throttle control and what direction of the stick you're moving in, whether or not you're applying brake pressure to the bike. And then so he can have that on the screen while doing these jumps, and then it shows the player that's watching the video exactly their movements they're doing, as opposed to just looking at the bike and thinking, well, are they accelerating or is the guy braking? Like, what is he doing with the bike exactly? Are they pressing right and then back quickly? Are they just holding right all the way and then letting go back to dead center of the control stick? So that sort of stuff really gives you a good indicator of what's going on the screen that sort of is making the rider on the bike do those movements, which is cool.
It's pretty cool that they added that.
I don't know if they've added it.
Previous ones, I don't know.
Yeah, but that was something cool that was in the game. So yeah, it does get quite hard, and I'm not saying that like, again, like this is we played it for 3 hours, and you know, I didn't take the approach that everybody else would to get to that stage of extreme. We played a couple of tracks, and then he used like a development console to unlock some of the other maps, and that's not the route that people would normally take. So I went from some of the easy medium tracks and was like, all right, let's see how stupid this gets. Like, let's go to the extreme one and try and play this. So it wasn't difficult because it was just way too hard. We were just trying it out to see what would happen. That's not the normal path people would get into.
Your old pal Joab would have fucking smashed it. I'm extremely good at this.
There was a guy there that had played Trials games before, and he finished that track. So it's entirely easy to do.
Like a couple of my most popular YouTube videos are how to beat some of Trials HD's tougher tracks. Right. It's like definitely something that people struggle with pretty mightily. It's definitely like they get fucking tough. One of the videos I have, it took me 180 attempts to finish, and I was like, the best thing about Trials, I fucking would hope it's still like this, but you can reset to a checkpoint with a push of a button real fucking quick. Yep. And like it's instant, and so there's no downtime, there's no loading, there's no fucking it's just like, okay, I goofed, that's fine. And like on some of these, it's not even about like, you need it. You need to be able to instantly to bail so that you don't attempt when you've got no fucking hope. Like there are some where you're on a box that is slightly wider, like the checkpoint is on a box that is slightly wider than the bike itself. So you need to roll backwards like half a centimeter and then power forward, bring your fucking front wheel up, and then use that momentum to bunny hop your way up to another level of fucking box, and then drag your fucking self up those boxes. But if you like, if you weren't able to instantly reset, you might never necessarily get there, because you would continue to try to like from the get-go, you wouldn't do the rock back necessarily, because you can't, like, you can churn through like 15 attempts from the standing start in the space of like a second, and you can work out real quick that it doesn't work. But if there was a loading, or if there was like a fucking pause, and those 15 attempts take 10 seconds in Trials HD, if they took like fucking 30 seconds, you'd get disheartened real quick.
Right.
That doesn't happen though.
No, and that's the same as this one. There's two buttons. There's a reset to checkpoint, which is instantaneous, and there's a restart map, which is also instantaneous.
Yeah.
So that helps a lot, because you are definitely going to be using that button most of the time.
Yeah,
Yeah. The
like heaps.
yeah, the what else can I talk about? The other things they've got in, like tons of customization. I made my dude look like the Hulk.
Oh, yeah?
He had no shirt on, he had purple shorts, and his skin was green. You're not allowed to take the helmet off because that is against safety rules. It won't let you do that in the game.
Sure.
So I had a helmet on. After you sort of finished each track, you you collect the medals, and then you sort of progress in like levels or rankings. Like you start off as level 1 and you work your way up. And I think you're getting cosmetic drops during that time. So there are loot boxes or like crates that you can unlock, and that's all cosmetic items. There's like hundreds of stickers and different outfits that you can sort of customize your character with, or you customize your bike with. Sort of each component is broken down on your character, whether it be shirts, pants, hats, boots, that sort of type of thing. And the same for the bike. You can change the look of the parts of the bike. And so, as far as I'm aware, that I saw, there were no like unlocking you buy your own bikes. It seemed to be. I'm guessing there's. It definitely seems like there's going to be a buying crate system, but it's purely cosmetic, as far as I'm aware. Like you can buy cosmetic stuff. Otherwise, you're getting cosmetics in the game as you progress. You do unlock other bikes, but that's through progression of like you're now level 10. So here's a bike that's got it's more powerful, but the control's a bit slower. Yep. Or here's a push bike. The control's pretty good, but the speed is a bit shit.
Yeah.
There is the donkey bike. I believe that is a returning bike. It's a tiny bike that handles like crap.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Nate and I had so there's multiplayer as well.
Oh, yeah.
Nate and I had a race. I smashed him on every single race except for the one where he's like, choose the donkey bike. I was like, all right, what's that? And we picked the donkey bike, and he fucking belted me on it because I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, this bike is terrible. What have you done to me?
Let's go.
So that was fun. There's a new bike that I've added called the tandem bike, and this is one of the best things. It might win Game of the Year. It is just the bike. It is a bike where two people control it at the same time. It is. I believe it's only for local co-op. I don't think it's multiplayer over the internet.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that, but
Sure.
we were playing it local co-op, and they made us play.
Maybe we can use Parsec to do it over the internet if we have to.
Right. Well, they made us play it local co-op. I'm pretty sure they said it's only local. So
okay.
The way that, as I said before, pretty basic: throttle control, brake, and then you use the sticks to sort of move you pitch up and down. That's the same with two players, except you're sort of fighting for control. If you're pressing forward and I'm pressing forward, then we'll go forward. The bike will spin forward. If I'm pressing back and you're pressing forward, maybe the bike goes nowhere. Or if like you start pressing forward and then a split second later I start pressing backwards, maybe we're still going forward a little bit because I was out of time.
Right.
If you're pressing accelerate and I'm pressing accelerate, we both go far. We go 120% speed, which is like the added benefit of that. And so you sort of have to work together, not necessarily being like back forward like type of thing, but sort of just playing it how you'd normally play, and it should hopefully work out like the right path. And sometimes you might get into an obstacle and you're like, all right, we've got to actually figure this out. Let's press back then forward to see if we can jump this part. And then, yeah, man, it's ridiculous fun, man. It's so good. The ridiculous, like playing it for fun and just seeing how crazy things get. But then also when it works, like when you are on point with your partner, it's so strange because like you're racing now and you're getting past checkpoints without falling over, and like it's really an interesting way of doing that and a lot of fun because to me it feels like a really good party game that you go around somebody's house and all right, well, let's put on Trials Rising and let's have a couple drinks and play the tandem bike. Because you've got these crazy maps that are already ridiculous. There's crazy physics going on. There's cool looking environments, and then all of a sudden you throw in a tandem bike where anything can happen. It's a lot of fun. So I think that'll be a big hit with people because everyone that was playing it that day was having an immense amount of fun just doing these crazy tricks, and
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and you can sort of fuck with people as well. Like, just keep holding the back button. It's like, why are we doing backflips all the time now? It's because I'm holding back.
Gold.
Yeah. So
Cool.
tandem bikes are awesome, really good fun. The
Nice.
the other multiplayer, the online multiplayer, is just traditional, like play through the races. Whoever gets gold, silver, bronze gets a certain amount of points, and at the end of the total, end of the races, then totals up, and the winner gets I don't know, first place. The it's like here's a bunch of maps you can choose from, and whoever votes on the maps, that'll be the race you play. If it's a tied sort of selection, then it's a coin flip. So it's not like it's one person picking all the maps. You can sort of just play it how you want to play. Just kind of, you get to choose. You get some say in it.
Right.
What else is there? The map editor. There's a map editor in the game.
Yeah.
The map editor that's in the actual game is the map editor that they use to create the tracks for the development team. So it's exactly the same. It's not like it's a toned down version of the map editor. Like, this is what they use to create tracks in the game. And we jumped in and had a quick look. It's sort of, there's this giant map in the world that you can sort of float like your camera around in. There's different environments, like the snowy area or the deserty area and the grassy, and you can sort of pick whereabouts you want to set up your track, and then you start importing objects. They've got over 8,000 objects, I was saying, and they've pretty much just grabbed all the objects from not also the game like Trials Rising, but all the other games they put out, things like the Blood Dragon game or Trials Evolution. So all the objects, and by objects I mean like background environments or like ramps and jumps and crazy things in the world, like all that stuff you can sort of put in there and play with it. And then there's your, like, where the camera is going to be, what the line of the track is, like physics and environmental effects and what happens when you get to this point, like all the scripting stuff. It is all in there for you to do. And I went and watched some of the videos of the developers stream during the week, and they sort of like, hey, here's us making one of the levels, and it's them like taking one of the other developers through, like, hey, can you beat this type thing? And the script, like when you zoom out to the map editor and you see like what sort of is involved in a proper map, like there is so much crazy things going on. And then like this dude is like editing it on the fly. Like that's how they make their maps, and that's how everybody else is going to be able to make their maps. And that's where the kind of the longevity of this game will end up being, is the content creation from people. And it'll, like, if that sort of allows people to keep playing it, then that's cool, because like people obviously get probably a bit stale of the old stuff, like the same maps over and over again. But if there's a strong community out there and people can design their own stuff, and same in the much way of the like Mario Brothers game that I can't remember, Mario Maker, like that.
Yeah.
Like, the popularity of that game was making your own Mario levels and giving it to your friends and seeing if they could beat it type thing. So there's definitely potential there. I had a crack at making something extremely quickly. Mine sucked, but the complexity that some of these maps can get, from what I've seen already, looks insane. So that's, I'm sure, very appealing to people out there that are very hardcore Trials fans. So that's cool.
Yeah, hell yeah.
The other thing I played was the Nintendo Switch version, which is also coming out at the same time. The game doesn't look as pretty as what it does on console/PC. For obvious reasons, is that console is not as powerful. But it still seems to work pretty well. I believe it's a different developer that's ported across. But it's still like a Ubisoft team.
Right.
And from what I can tell, the differences is that the throttle control on the Nintendo Switch controllers aren't like pressure sensitive. It's like the way that works is if you're pressing down, then you're going.
Right.
So the throttle control works a bit differently. They've got it mapped to one of the control sticks if you want to use it that way.
Right.
If you're just playing it casually, then you can still use the accelerate and brake. You've just got to sort of manage it a bit better. Otherwise, it's on the control stick. There are games that do it that way, or that games used to do it that way when we didn't have like you're pressing 80% throttle at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it seems to work fine. It's like it's not the preferred platform that I play it on, but it's definitely appealing for people that want to be playing it on the go or that are out because it fits for that game really well. Like you can finish a track in 2 or 3 minutes. It's the type of thing you can take out on the road with you. Download a new map and
I think control is such a critical element to the game, though, that I don't know that I'd want to sacrifice it just for portability.
Yeah. Well, but you can still do it. It's just on the control stick.
That doesn't appeal to me even a little bit.
All right. Yeah.
I don't know, like the fine analog control of a trigger, and then like how do you shift your weight if that's on the control stick?
It's on the other stick, I think. I don't know.
On this one, on lefty.
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember. Something like that.
Yeah, no.
I think you can. I think you just switch it. I don't think that's a default mode. It sort of just switches.
It's gonna be a no from me, dog.
And then you can also. So Nate and I played it on the one Switch. Like you pull the controllers apart. You know, you normally set up the Nintendo controllers, and it flips around. It's like a little tiny controller. You can play that way as well.
Right.
Obviously, you lose the throttle control completely because you've only got one stick.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're on a bus or something like that with somebody,
I just wouldn't do it. It just doesn't appeal to me at all.
Yeah.
Cool.
But I think that's all I can really say about it. It's really good. Like I want to play the next Trials game. Like it seems really fun.
Yeah.
Super impressed by it. I can understand now why it always gets really good reviews because it seems like a solid racing game and it's fun. Like it doesn't take itself seriously at all.
It's definitely more puzzle than it is racing. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like that spirit of competition is definitely in it, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. Trials Rising, that is out very soon.
Awesome.
Next month, a month from now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Cool.
The last game we've got here is Far Cry New Dawn. Yep. I checked out Far Cry New Dawn yesterday.
Sure.
This is going to be a weird one to talk about, mainly because it is a follow-up of Far Cry 5, which came out last year.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be spoiled Far Cry 5, maybe skip forward a little bit. Because this directly leads on from the ending of Far Cry 5.
That is bananas.
Yep. So, Far Cry 5 ended... Did you finish it?
Did I finish
Far Cry
5? Yes, in the end I did.
Yeah. So Far Cry 5 is about being a police deputy who goes to this town called Hope County, and this crazy preacher named Joseph Seed is sort of influencing parts of the town and sort of taking over it. And he's talking about how the end is coming type thing. And eventually, fast forward 30 hours later, you get to the end of the game and you as a protagonist do not win. Joseph ends up winning. And a nuclear bomb goes off inside of Hope County. And the game sort of wraps up with you stuck in his sort of fallout bunker. His fallout shelter. And yeah, he basically wins. The bad guy wins. This one is a game set 17 years after the events of what happened after that bomb went off. And you are playing as a different character who is sort of in this world of Hope County and interacting with sort of the people in that world and understanding kind of what has gone on since then. And yeah, it is basically the same map as Far Cry 5, similar to what Far Cry Primal did when they released. It's like the same map as that other Far Cry game. So this is the same map. They've changed the aesthetic and bits and pieces in there. The game is very vibrant. There's a lot of colors going on, very pinks and yellows, like bright pinks and yellows. A lot of green, it's very lush. gone ridiculously crazy in terms of all the colors that are going on in the game now, and that sort of spans across from all the characters you meet as well to the wildlife that is in the game, and it's similar to Far Cry 5 or the Far Cry structure in terms of it being like a first person, like a there are survival elements in there. You're crafting steel, you're hunting animals, you're upgrading weapons, like all that stuff is definitely still there, but it feels like a let's try some new things and see how they fit. Like This is kind of like all right, let's try this and see how we go, because it's gone light RPG is what they're calling it. You have different tiered enemies that you can come across. There are, I believe, 4 different tiers. There are different tiered weapons that you can have, and so as you progress through the game, you'll get better and better weapons, and depending on the enemies that you come up against, if you've got a tier 1 weapon against a tier 2 enemy, you're going to do less damage. Whereas if you've got a tier 3 weapon against a tier 2 or a tier 1, then you'll do more damage because they damage resistance isn't as high. Or that level 3 enemy that you're up against, maybe they're decked out in armor, and you've got to get rid of their helmet first or shred some of their body armor away before you start doing more damage. So it'll get more and more difficult as the game goes on. And there are damage numbers that come off enemies, which is something different. That
is different.
That surprised me the first time I saw it. But it's not like bullet spongy as like
like the Division.
Like well, like the Division. When you're at least I didn't get to experience some of the later stuff, but we were playing Act 1 where I was coming up against level 1 and 2 characters and occasionally tier 3 like wildlife, and sometimes occasionally some higher stuff than that. I'll talk about it later.
Sure.
But it didn't feel like it was, I'm just smashing all this stuff into this dude and not getting anywhere. Like, I'm not doing any damage, but now his helmet's gone, and all of a sudden I'm doing more damage because I'm hitting him in the head.
Right.
So, yeah, very light RPG. There is a home base that you start off at, and there are like a bunch of stations in this home base, and it sort of ranges from like this is the herbal area where there's a bunch of plants set up, or there's a weapons bench, and everything sort of starts off at level 1, and then you go out and you scavenge for resources, you bring them back, and then you can be like, all right, I'm going to level up my weapons bench, and that'll allow me to create level 2 weapons now, or things like that. So you're actually going out, completing these missions, side missions, looking for this stuff in the world, and then bringing them back to your base and leveling everything up. And
so I guess Far Cry 76.
It's very far. it's very different. Like they're going for that post-apocalyptic game with survival stuff in there. So it's I mean, like Far Cry games have been pretty arcadey in the past, but this is bringing it back a little bit. So it's definitely interesting. Like I enjoyed what I played, but at the same time, you're playing an open world game at a 3-hour preview session. You really don't know how to like if it gets any deeper than that, or if it's going to be really samey. So I started off, and they were just like, "Hey, this is Act 1 of the game. You can just go out and do whatever you want. All this stuff is unlocked. There's like 12, 13 missions. Here is..." I'm pretty shocked on this. They gave us a booklet, and we're like, "Here are the missions. If you want to read the booklet, it'll give you a description of what each mission is. If one of them sounds interesting to you, then here's a map, and it'll show you sort of where it is on the big world map, and then you can go to that area, and I'll kick it off for you." Because it seems to do like an exploration thing as well. Like, you're running around in the world, and all of a sudden you come across this weird bunker, and you find a note, and that triggers a mission for you, or something like that. Or you'll come across a person, and they'll give you like coordinates to an area to go and explore. So it's just not like there's bits and pieces on the map for you to go and look for. There's obviously a main quest line and like side missions that'll show up on the map straight away for you. quite similar to the last game, where it was you don't actually have to do it in this specific order. You can kind of do it in what order you want. Similar sort of thing, but there are bits and pieces in the world that you can go at, and it'll trigger it as you complete certain tasks in the game. And so, yeah, I started off and went to... it was like, hey, here's the main mission, and it is halfway up the map. And I was like, I'm not going to get a car. I'm just going to run around and see what I can find. And I ended up in this area where there was a bunch of cages set up, and there were some guys in there, and they had all these dogs basically behind cages. And so I got rid of the guys, and then I unlocked a cage, found this dog, and he gave me a mission, and it was to go and find the key to unlock the cages to all the other doors. And then so I went and eventually found this key, unlocked the other doors, and then that dog became my like companion. In the last game, it was like a guns for hire. Remember, you could get like the bear, and you could have people, or like a cougar.
Cougar, yep.
Yeah, things like that, and they would be your companion. You could tell them to follow you around, or go stand at this mark on the ground, or attack somebody or distract them. And they each had their like abilities, perks, or benefits. Like, you know, this dog in particular could sense people that were around, so it'd mark them on the map for me. Sorry, to mark them in the environment, it'd highlight them, or it would go looking for treasure in the world, or like crafting items. So very dog-like abilities. And so yeah, that's just something I came across. And then eventually I ended up just wandering around. I did like an outpost in the game, which works a little bit differently these days. So you remember in the last games, you'd clear an area, like it's like 6 or 7 enemies in this area. You'd clear it and kind of like liberate it, and then your people would come in and sort of start living in that area. So this one, what it does is you clear an outpost and you get resources from it, but there are different stages or different levels to that outpost. So you can decide to give the outpost back up, and it'll go to like a star 2 outpost. And you can go back in and then clear it again, but the enemies that are around there are harder this time. Maybe there's a different way that you need to approach it. But if you complete that, then you get even more resources than what you would have got the first time around. And there's 3 different levels to it. It gets to 3 stars. I think it's 3 stars. And so that could be quite difficult. Steve and I did a level 2 in co-op, and we barely scraped through with that one. So yeah, they've changed that mechanic up a little bit. You're not just clearing outposts and now you're done with it. You can sort of risk reward type stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. What else was there? The map, although it's very like samey, there were areas that I was surprised to come across. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. Like, this looks familiar to me, but it's like completely changed because it looks different. There was one part in particular I remember where, do you remember the crazy guy who was dealing with like electricity? He had like a giant ball set up in this cage, and he was like a conspiracy theorist talking about aliens and whatnot all the time. Did you ever come across him?
No.
You probably would have. I think he was the side character. Yeah, and I came across like his house, and the bandits in the area managed to turn on his equipment again, and they couldn't figure out how to, or like the equipment turned on, they couldn't figure out how to switch it off. And so I cleared this entire area, and you had to try and figure out how to switch off the machine. It was a case of like follow the cables, and then it led you to this house, and you jump on top of the house and look through a window and break the lock off the door, and then you climb off the roof and then walk in, and eventually you'll find a lever that you switch the power off, and then go back outside, and then go down the hole, and there's treasure all of a sudden, and a bunch of perks and whatnot. So just kind of running into those areas again and being like, oh yeah, I remember this, looks familiar, but it just being different, like the colors being different, everything looking worn down and ruined, and that sort of stuff, like just triggering my memory of, oh yeah, I remember where we are in the map, because it like has that for you. There was you remember the middle island where you first start Far Cry 5 and you come out of the bunker, like walking past that and being like, oh yeah, I remember this part. It looks different. Like there are less trees around. I remember that area being like, there are trees everywhere, but obviously things haven't gone as good in that part. So
Sure.
yeah, less trees. There's still wildlife around. Some of them look like unique. Like there's a white deer running around and it's got antlers and shit. Like they've tried to play with the way that some of those creatures look and have been affected by the radiation and whatnot. At one stage, Steve and I were playing some co-op, and we were in a fight, and then a fucking bear showed up, and then a cougar showed up, and then the bear and the cougar were fighting each other, and then a second bear showed up, and
Awesome.
we decided just to leave because we ran out of ammo and we were just not getting anywhere.
Sure.
During one of the bits when I was playing, I found a bear and a wolf were fighting each other. And I was like, oh, all right, I'm getting ready to shoot the bear because this bear's going to just tear this wolf apart. And the wolf won. And I was like, oh, fuck, what do I do now? Because I was not...
Super wolf.
Yeah, I was like, oh, shit. So I'm in trouble. But like seeing the creatures interact with each other, like classic Far Cry stuff where you throw a Molotov cocktail on the ground and then you've got a forest fire all of a sudden because the whole place is just spread. And there's fire all over the place, and you're standing in fire while a bear is attacking you. Those like classic Far Cry moments, which is fun. So, yeah, I mean, there's obviously stuff happening in the story. I don't want to go too far into it, just for spoiler reasons for this game. But there are like the bad guys are these twins. There's like Joseph Seed, sort of. He's like. Power over people is still very present. Like they're still trying to, I guess, get his like the things he was going for and like his beliefs. They're still trying to push that onto other people. So that's why you've sort of got these bandits, that are still fighting amongst each other, like people that are trying to rebuild, while Joseph's presence is still very much there. I don't know if he's in the game at all. I don't know if your character from the first game is in the game somewhere. I'm gonna take a stab and say maybe. Like I'd feel like they
really
go. Well, I don't know. It's not that long unless they ended up killing each other in the bunker, right?
I sort of figured that was what happened.
Right.
No,
I don't know, man.
Maybe. I guess that would be a pretty good storytelling device. Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't know where they're gonna go with the story. But there's definitely like stuff going on there because we're sort of playing it out of order, and I only really played the one story mission. Like Steve Wright, who was next to me, went and did something completely different to me, and he was on this other weird quest where he'd run into some of Joseph's people, and they were under the assumption that he would now lead them and like spread the word of Joseph through this guy now. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know where the story is going. But it still seems. I guess my biggest thing about I liked Far Cry, but I didn't like the changes they made to the hunting, and it doesn't look like they've really done much here to sort of improve that. The hunting works by you kill an animal, you skin it, you get its skin and its meat, and then you go and trade that skin in for some resources now. So back in the day when you played Far Cry, it's like you need to kill 5 bears and you'll get a bear pouch, or like a level 3 bear pouch. And that, like, there was incentive to go, let's go find the bear. Where's the bear at? And we'll go find it, and we'll get this cool pouch out of it, and I'll get more ammo, something like that. Whereas it feels like you go kill bears and you trade them in for resources, and they're worth this much resources. So they're relying still less heavily on the hunting aspect. And for me, like, the hunting in Far Cry 5 was just a non thing. I didn't care about it, didn't want to do it, just didn't appeal to me at all. There was no real point. And it still feels the same here. The story of Far Cry 5, I liked it. I know it was very divisive in terms of that ending. I thought the ending was ballsy. We don't see a lot of endings like that where the bad guy wins, or like I mean, The Avengers is one of the biggest movies that I can think of where you're like, oh, this is actually, it's not an Avengers film, it's a Thanos film. And the bad guy wins.
Spoilers? What? How could you do that?
Spoilers
that
for
only
the
came
biggest-
out last year
biggest
as well,
movie of last
motherfucker.
year.
Yeah, you're like, I can't spoil fucking Far Cry 5, but let me just fucking spoil the Avengers.
Yeah, well,
Easy peasy, baby.
if you haven't seen the biggest film of last year, then that's your own fault.
It's not anyone's fault.
I feel like our audience is on that already.
Spoiled it.
Yeah. So yeah, like seeing a developer take risk and sort of try and tell a different story as opposed
What
to
about Empire? You could have gone with Empire.
what's Empire? Oh, Star Wars.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about a TV show. There's a TV show called Empire, right?
No, Empire Strikes Back. The bad guys technically come out on top in that one. You know, you could have gone with that. Nah, fucking 2018.
The kids don't know what Empire is these days, Joe. They haven't seen it.
Fucking
It's
unbelievable.
like a 40-year-old film.
You probably don't even know what Empire is. Fucking young gun over here.
Yeah.
I only ever watched Return of the Jedi.
Oh, no, the original the new trilogy.
Oh yeah.
Episode 1.
Yeah. That's it. We're prequel memes now.
Yeah.
Sand, hello there, General Kenobi, etc., etc. That fucking shit. Prequel memes have legit tricked people into thinking they love the fucking prequels.
Yeah.
Like, people absolutely go to bat now saying that the prequels are the best Star Wars. Like, it's gone to the point now where people aren't sure if they're joking or not. They're like, this used to be a joke to me, but I've now watched these films so many times so I could find stupid memes that I actually kind of love them.
Yep.
Out of Stockholm Syndrome. Anyway.
Right, yeah.
You like the ending of Far Cry 5?
Yeah, so I liked the ending. I thought it was different. That was, to me, I was pretty like, oh, it's a fine game. It's okay. But I thought the ending, I enjoyed that part of it. Like, oh shit, all right, this is different. Whereas a lot of people didn't like, because they're like, oh man, really? So I'm curious to see sort of if they expand on that, or sort of like what happened to those characters afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if they
sure
do.
You'll find.
Because,
like, the more I thought about it, and the more I'm sure you'll find out.
But the thing was, like, you're a silent protagonist, right? In those games, so having that character come up and then all of a sudden, like, then what? You've got two characters that now don't talk to each other because you've got yourself talking to a character from the last game who doesn't talk. So yeah, maybe we do run into Joseph at some stage, which would be interesting.
Like, they could, skewer it. They could put a lampshade on it by having him go to talk and then die, like get killed.
Sure,
that'd be pretty good.
Yeah,
get sniped or something.
But at the same time, would you remember what your character looked like? Like, I don't think it's a first-person game, right? So you don't really...
But they'd have, like, oh, he's coming out of the bunker. Oh, I wonder if it's Joseph or if it's the deputy. Oh, my God. And then he steps out and he's like... And goes to talk, and then a fucking sniper bullet blows his brains out. And you're like, oh, shit! Oh, fuck! Or Joseph's behind him with the gun and blows his brains out. And he's like, ah.
Yeah.
Ah. Anyway, yeah, cool.
Yeah, man. I don't know how it's gonna play. I think it'll be fine. They didn't fix the co-op. The co-op is still not fixed.
Well, I'm out.
That was the first thing I asked. The progression works the same way as the last one, where you, the host's progression for the story content plays on, but the person that is joining the host, the only thing they take back with them is the resources and the leveling up they've done for.
Ludicrous.
Everything else, they don't.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't get any story progress. You don't get any. Only the host can upgrade their stations on their base, so you can't upgrade like the base and it saves. Like if you're not the host. So yeah,
that's cooked.
That's still something they need to sort out for the next Far Cry game.
Yep.
But otherwise, yeah, it's hard to tell, man. Like again, I think what I played is fine. I enjoy Far Cry games. They're doing some different things here that are not expected in a Far Cry game, like having the light RPG with damage numbers coming off people. And then sort of how far that'll, like, will it become bullet spongy? Because one of the outposts that we did do, there was a gold gold level. I guess he's above the last tier, and he's supposed to be there when you're playing co-op. And so this dude rolled up, and we weren't doing much damage to him at all. And then I eventually got Steve to kite him around. Steve was getting shot at, and I was like, Steve, run here. So Steve ran to the point where I was on a mounted machine gun, and then I just let rip on this dude, and he was ragdolling ridiculously like a motherfucker all over the place, and I killed him.
That's what you get.
Yeah, and the dev behind me was like, he's like screaming, oh my god. Yes. So yeah, like, I don't know, man. Cool. I think it's going to be an interesting experiment for them.
Yeah.
To go up again, like, it's the fucking showdown between they're making a Fallout game, or like they're taking on Fallout. Like, will this be the better Fallout game? It's obviously not going to be as hardcore RPG as a Fallout game. But you've got like Rage. Rage is coming out. Rage 2, post-apocalyptic game, and they're both very similar art styles, going for those bright pinks and bright yellows, and it's very coincidental. So yeah, we have a post-apocalyptic war, and see who wins that one. But I'm keen to play more Far Cry. I always like Far Cry. It's just a leveling degree of Far Cry. Like Far Cry, I think it was 3 was on my top 5.
Yeah,
and I feel like 4 might have been my 5th or something like that. Like, it was still up there, but they've gotten to the point where 5 was, it was Far Cry, but they didn't do enough to change the formula, and then the stuff they did change felt like it was a backstep for me. So maybe they'll learn things from this one. Maybe some of the RPG stuff will work, maybe it won't. And then we'll find out in the next game sort of how that pans out. But I don't know. Looks okay to me. Looks fine. We'll see how it ends up.
Cool.
Yep. I think that's it.
Alrighty. That's it.
Yeah.
Let's do some news.
Mortal Kombat 11 was not revealed. That's what I've got written down here. I guess the gameplay was revealed. We've seen at the Game Awards, they did the actual reveal as cinematic, and this one is some gameplay now. As expected, Scorpion is in the game.
Shocker.
Yeah, shocking. It looks really good. Like, from what I've seen so far. I mean, all the Mortal Kombat games since they ended up rebooting it, basically, have been solid. Like, this last run of Mortal Kombat DC, I keep alternating. Both of them have been really good fighting games.
I think Mortal Kombat's been better than Injustice, to be honest.
Yeah.
Especially most recently. I didn't like Injustice 2 at all. But Mortal Kombat 10 was awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
And they are attempting to tell interesting stories in them as well. That's something that I don't see in any other fighting games, really.
Yeah.
Like, that's NetherRealm's like style of storytelling is sort of the first time we've seen them be like, all right, yeah, we know this is stupid, but they try and interweave it with the single player stuff. I think it's worked pretty well the last couple of times, even with the weird like time travel shit that was going on at one stage.
Oh yeah, it did get kind of out of hand.
Yeah,
but I guess it's always been out
cheesy,
like, pretty weird. Yeah,
and strange.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of pro fighters playing. I watched the game with Sonic Fox playing.
Oh yeah.
Which is really good. A lot of fun. Very close game of back and forward points. So, and man, like them playing a game that's not even out yet, but because they're so good at fighting games, and in particular, like these are guys like fighting games. It seems like every year, like, oh, this is the fighting game we play. And one year it's like Mortal Kombat, and the next year it's Street Fighter, and then they move from Street Fighter to Injustice. Like, these guys have played all these different games, and they still know button combinations from the last Mortal Kombat game, and they can jump into this one and pull off ridiculous things. And you're just watching it, and you're like, what is going on? So, and I'm sure that some of these guys are probably maybe part of the development process as well. Like, I don't know, but I'm guessing they get in pro players every once in a while to be like, all right, what do you think of this build? What should we change? Like, how does it feel? But watching like two pros Or like they had a tournament. Watching a bunch of pros play it, it looks solid. It looks really good, like fast paced. Seems to handle well. The fatalities and the like. It seems you know how that X-ray moves in there at one stage. There's like really quick ones like that in there now, which are sort of like one hit moves.
Okay.
Which look fun, but it looks solid. Like they seem to be still knocking it out of the park with those fighting games at NetherRealm.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to check it out. Like I didn't get as deep. You remember when that first demo came out for that reboot Mortal Kombat, and we were playing it like before the podcast, for 6 weeks or something, and then we'd finish the podcast, and then we'd play more Mortal Kombat, and that was just a demo. Like, eventually that game came out. I still played a ton of it, but that was the resurgence of Mortal Kombat. Like, all right, Mortal Kombat is back, and they've made some really good games since then. I've played all of them. I've really enjoyed all of them. I enjoy watching them. I feel like the most whenever we see an Evo, just because I feel like every time I watch Street Fighter or something like, I'm gonna get fucking flamed now. I don't know. I just don't like watching Street Fighter that much. As much as I still enjoy bits of it, but at the most part, it's just like I feel like just blocking all the time and just nothing exciting happening. Whereas
you should be fine for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna get smashed. Whereas other games like was the Marvel one, Marvel and X-Men. Was all the Marvel characters in X-Men? What was that called?
Marvel vs. Capcom.
Might have been Marvel vs. Capcom, one where you'd like 3 people tagged in.
Yeah.
Years and years ago. Yeah. And there was stupid stuff happening on the screen, like explosions. There was 3 characters fighting each other at the same time. I didn't know what was going on in that game, but it looked pretty. Like shit was going on. Like it was always explosions and looked like mayhem. And then you'd be like, "Oh, John, you want to play?" And he'd be like, he'd be doing like triple fucking knocking people up in the air and then comboing and then calling in a tag team partner, and then they'd hit you, and then the third guy'd come in and hit you, and you never want to play with John because he took it too seriously.
Or Jay. Jay was
like that.
He could just pick up any fucking fighting game and destroy me at it.
But so I liked watching. I liked watching it as a competitive game because it just looks so dumb.
I just don't like getting destroyed.
Yeah. Whereas Injustice and Mortal Kombat, I like that from a fighting game like viewing experience. They're fun to watch.
Right.
Except when they do fatalities at the end, and you know they're only doing it because they're at a tournament and they're getting paid to be there, and people want to see the fatalities.
Right.
Otherwise, you just punch them, right?
Of course. Yeah. In a tournament, yeah. Well, they skip through fucking X-rays and shit, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
You should watch some videos.
I just did while you were talking. They were good.
Looks good?
Yeah. There's a couple. Look up MK11 Fatalities compilation. That's what I was watching.
Yeah.
It was a good one.
Yeah. I watched a bunch of them.
Looks sick.
That looks awesome. NPD sales 2018.
I haven't seen this, so I got no idea.
I just opened a list. Top 20 games 2018. We'll go through each one and we'll talk about them and review them as we no? What are you shaking your head for?
Oh, fucking 2 hours isn't long enough for podcasts, for our podcast anymore. It's got to be fucking 8 hours, apparently. Let's go.
I thought you'd be
let's do it. Go to the list.
Number,
go to the list.
Number
go to the
20.
list.
No, I'm just kidding. So number one.
Go on. Do it.
No,
we'll do it real quick. We'll do it real quick. Go.
We start at 20.
Yeah.
Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. Didn't play it.
Didn't play it. Don't care.
Didn't play it.
Next.
Super Mario Party. Didn't play it.
Garbage. I hated it.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Didn't play it last year.
It's fucking awesome, but yeah. It's cool it's still selling.
Yeah, it's...
Next.
Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Cool. Yep. Awesome. Rad.
Good.
Nice. What's that, 16?
17.
17. Okay.
16 is Call of Duty World War II.
Wow.
Call of Duty's a big game.
Yeah.
I guess that was the year before, right? So...
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I guess there was a portion of the year where there was no Call of Duty Black Ops 4 for them to buy, so yeah, makes sense. Next.
15, Super Mario Odyssey.
Next.
14, Battlefield 5.
14? Fucking hell. That's low. Is this not including digital sales or some shit?
Yes.
It is.
So this is just not PC. Well, I guess it doesn't include digital sales
Right.
for
okay.
this one.
Okay.
Sorry, PC digital sales and just PC. 13 FIFA 19. Okay, 12 is Mario Kart 8. Is that
Really?
Yeah, is that the deluxe one or?
Must be the Switch Deluxe or whatever the fuck it was. Yeah.
All right, 11 is Grand Theft Auto 5, which is
Fucking
crazy.
Still going strong. That's bananas.
Yeah.
That's like 7 years old or some shit.
Yeah, that a
ludicrous.
game that old is still on that list, and at 11.
What?
It's at 11.
Yeah,
It really
yeah.
broke into the top 10.
Yeah.
10 was Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Nice.
9, Monster Hunter World.
The
8, God of War 2018, which was a PS4 exclusive platform.
right. Yeah. So it's pretty good for a PS4 exclusive.
Yeah. Far Cry 5 was number 7.
Wow. Beat God of War. I guess
Multi-platform.
Yeah.
Marvel Spider-Man was number 6. Also a PlayStation 4 exclusive. So PlayStation's
Damn.
highest selling thing. I mean, we knew that. They sent out press releases saying it was their biggest game. Number 5, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Yep.
I don't care.
Here you go. Madden NFL 19 at number 4.
4th. Wow.
That's big.
Bananas.
That's huge.
Yeah. That is huge.
3 is NBA 2K19. Kind of expected. I think I say this all the time. It's one of the biggest selling games every year.
Yep.
Basketball's big. And number 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Also kind of expected. A lot of people do not like Call of Duty, but there you go. It's on that list. And they made good Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And number 1 was Fortnite.
Classic.
No, I'm just joking. It's Red Dead Redemption 2.
Obviously, Red Dead Redemption 2. That's... Yeah, some surprises, I guess. Sort of force you to rethink about like how you look at certain games. I mean, obviously that's US skewed, right? That's not worldwide, is it?
NPD is, I think it's just US, yeah.
Yeah, because Madden, doesn't have as big an impact outside of the States,
right?
Whereas I'd say NBA does, but you would expect. I wouldn't be surprised if FIFA and Madden swapped outside of the States.
Yeah, Europe.
Or FIFA swapped into NBA's spot and NBA went to Madden's spot or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised by that. It's definitely one of those things that you just don't sort of think about. A lot of those games I didn't think did as well as they evidently did, which is awesome. Nice. Cool. And some billions of dollars or some shit, right?
What was billions of dollars?
Americans spent billions of dollars on games last year. $43 billion on video games in 2018. Digital not tracked. That's physical purchases only.
Right.
That is insanity. That's huge. Cool.
All right. Next up, we got PUBG news. Because it's been a while, Joab.
I don't care.
Vikendi, a new map.
I don't care.
Snow map is out on PC.
I don't
consoles. And the other reason I put this up here is
I don't.
the next part I want to talk about.
Sure.
PUBG players or content creator found out or discovered that weapon recoil is affected by frame rate. So if you have a higher frame rate, then your recoil will be higher. Wacky Jackie ended up doing a video series of this and tested it, and man, he found out that there's a big video, like a video going around of him, I guess, capping his frame rate at certain frames. And just the basic things of like, if your frame rate is at 30 and then the next one is at 31, like the difference that it does in recoil is pretty substantial.
Really?
So I believe that the higher your frame rate is, the higher up the recoil will go. So it's doing something. I think that's the way it was working. I'm not 100% sure.
That is spectacular.
But there's a graph going around of like, here's the different frame rates, and depending on what frame rate you hit, here's how quickly your bullets will come out of your gun, and also how high your recoil will go. So that's why you you'd have pros or whatever going to tournaments and sort of having their guns feel a bit off because they're running on different PCs, or there's a good slow-mo video that he's put up in this one in particular of like him shooting the gun and like one of the guns finishing before the other gun and the recoil being so much higher on the gun that's still going. So yeah, it's a big problem. PUBG Corp is obviously they know about it now, which is nuts. And they're going.
At least they already fixed PUBG, right?
Yeah, they're going to address it.
That is
at some stage. They were supposed to address it the other day, and they did not yet. They put an update out, I think this morning. I read that
nobody knew how hard it is to not make your game do idiotic shit. Nobody knew.
This is straight out of the Bethesda book. This one.
It is a 76er. Yeah. Fucking hell, that is amazing. That is staggering to me. Holy shitballs. Yeah. Did I see correctly that Aussie servers no longer work as well? You get redirected straight to AS servers?
I mean, that's how it's always been, right? But as far as I'm aware, they're still online.
Okay. I thought I saw someone got a message saying they were being redirected or something.
Well, yeah, they changed the way that you connect to a server. You don't choose anymore. You just press play and it picks it for you. And so if it's detecting that there's a low player population, then it'll just automatically dump you into a different server region. So I guess they've been doing that for a while anyway. The message was just never there, and I mean, it's just instantaneous, basically. It's always been instantaneous. There's never a wait, like, oh, we've searched for 3 minutes, so we're going to dump you into another queue. It was always You'd press search and then dump you into SEA straight away. Unless you're playing third person, then it'd, for whatever reason, you'd get games, but fucking who knows what they're doing over that company. Mm-hmm. I would fully expect them to shut those servers down at some stage. Maybe the 1 year anniversary of when they fucked it up in the first place. That'll be what, March or April?
Yeah. That'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be a nice way to cap it off. But I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been watching a lot of the pros, and it looks like the pro scene in Australia is pretty dead now. They're all trying to get NA teams. Like the last 2 weeks, I've seen a lot of people saying they're looking for teams in NA.
Yeah.
I think Lynxy is now in an NA team. Is that
Extreme 2G's in one as well, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Lynxy, Extreme 2G. I saw Zoid was trying to get on one.
Yeah, I feel like that they've definitely killed the Australian scene, like even further, because all the pros are now leaving. So yeah, that game's. I feel like that game will have its servers pulled, and I look forward to the day that they blame it on low population.
It's happened a dozen times already. Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's move on to Resident Evil 2 Remake. The IGN review.
So this was a bit of an interesting one. I want to chat about it because obviously it's it is a bit of game journalism news, and we do talk about that inside baseball type shit.
Yeah.
Fairly often here. And JB Johnny Bravo pointed out on our Discord channel, but. Yeah, it's a weird one. So basically, they reviewed Resident Evil 2, and they were quite confused as to how they were to go about unlocking the other campaign, the Claire campaign. So they beat it from Leon's point of view, and they couldn't work out how to do Claire's version. And yeah, they were pretty confused. And then They must have just sort of shit it in. So they were like, it's just the same content, same enemies, just different playable characters.
Mm-hmm.
So slightly different weapons, which is, of course, not how Resident Evil 2 works. And it's not how Resident Evil 2 Remake works. And I think it would definitely not have a fucking 92 or whatever the fuck it currently is on Metacritic if it was such a radical departure from the actual construction, the way that Resident Evil 2 original worked. Like, it just, people would shit the fucking bed. Like, the fan would be covered in feces. So yeah, it was a weird weird way to sort of half justify that they had done the work or whatever. But yeah, they IGN were pretty quick after they got negative reactions to rectify the situation by issuing a retraction, bumping the score up, and then what they did was they struck out.
Right.
So they left it in, but they didn't remove it. They didn't pretend like they never made this mistake, and they owned up to it at the top of the review. And I think they did a good job. I think obviously you don't want to fuck up. You don't want to see fuck ups like that. This one's a pretty hefty fuck up, and it was a pretty easily verifiable fuck up. Like the question should have been asked: is it really that different from the original? But I guess it slipped through for whatever reason.
Sure.
And so yeah, I think the way they handle it afterwards is really good. Letting it get there in the first place, not so good. Yeah, should never have gotten to that. But yeah, I think they handled it really well.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you think it's the reviewer's fault though? If I was reviewing that game,
yeah,
I wouldn't play New Game Plus. I probably wouldn't play it, and then I'd never know it was there.
I think. Did you play Resident Evil 2, the original?
I did. I don't think I ever finished it. No, I never finished it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. I feel like you should know.
No.
You should know that you can play as both Leon and Claire.
All right.
Because it is a remake, right? If it was fucking Resident Evil 8,
yeah,
I 100% agree with you. Although, personally, I'd probably fire up New Game Plus just to see if it was... I'd probably fire it up just to see if it was fucking a higher health situation. Right. The increased difficulty via higher health. I'd probably do it just for my own edification, right? But I wouldn't blame someone for not doing that.
Right.
However, being that it is a remake of an immensely popular game, an immensely famous game, one of the most celebrated survival horrors of all time, I feel like you should know that at the very least, if you haven't played as Claire, you're supposed to play as Claire.
Leon. Oh, okay, yeah.
Whichever character you haven't played as.
So does it tell you at the start of the game there's two characters to choose from, or do you play the game and you're playing as one character, and the second time you played it plays as someone else? You get to pick?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I haven't played it, but I presume it allows you to pick at the start. And so you would go back and play as the other. And it's not New Game Plus in that sense. It's a different game. Claire and Leon have different storylines. They play differently. They go to different parts. Like, they face different puzzles. It's similar. They face similar puzzles, or from the same, from different perspectives. They sometimes face the same puzzle from different perspectives, or stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely similar. But that's part of the charm of the game,
right?
Is the way that they, rejig how you're supposed to look at the world, at the Raccoon City PD and stuff.
So I think it comes down to how clear the game presents itself as there being two different playthroughs. Like, if it doesn't explain that there's a second playthrough and that it's different from the first, or if it's because I don't know how it plays. I haven't played Resident Evil 2 Remake. If it's pick your character, both games are different, whatever. If it's just pick your character and you just literally picking a person, and then you finish the game, and then it's New Game Plus, or start a new game or whatever, and then you can just pick the other character this time. I probably would have missed it as well. I guess it just depends on how clear it makes it out to be in the first place. How old school has it gone with that?
Having not played it, having not got it, I wouldn't be able to say, but yeah, I don't know. I do think there is merit to your argument. I just don't think I think Resident Evil 2 is an exception.
Right. Because, I mean, there are games, say, God of War, Spider-Man, where you go New Game Plus and it says, it'll be the same game as what you played, but you get to carry over, or you get to carry over all your abilities and all your items, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes it'll tell you that when you finish the game. Like, I guess if it makes it clear that it's a different game and not just literally a different asset you're walking around in, then
I'm looking at a screen and it's got like it says play through the second scenario from the beginning when you're on New Game second run or New Game Plus, as it were.
Yeah.
So it does feel like it's telling you. It's being pretty fucking descriptive.
Right.
I don't know. I was more interested in. I thought IGN's response was good. I think it was a fuck up in the beginning. Yeah. I don't know.
Right.
It's a tricky one.
So
that never happen.
They quickly turned it around and then gave an extra 2 points. Did you say, or 0.2?
0.2. Yeah. So they lifted it from an 8.8 to a 9.
It's just to appease people. That sounds like.
I would say so, yeah. I don't think they should have done that. But, like, they're in a tricky position, I guess. I mean, you can't leave it as it was.
I'm sure there's a lot of people giving them shit.
100%, yeah. Yeah. Not good. It's never good. Like, it always makes it harder on everyone else reviewing games and stuff when this kind of stuff happens. But what are you going to do? Yeah. Shit happens.
Right. Okay. Should we move? Oh, that's it.
That's it.
Awesome. We can wrap things up. Let's do it. What do we got here? You can find this show, The Gap, on iTunes, Android, Windows Store, all those fun podcast places. You can find it on The Gap or the GA Podcast. If you type that in, we'll show up, and you can rate and review us on those platforms as well to help other people find the show. And we appreciate you doing that if you can help us out. You can also find us on places like Spotify now. If you go to thegapodcast.com/Spotify, you can listen to us as well from there, which is cool. If you want to send us any questions, you can do so on social media. On email, thegapodcast@gmail.com, as well as our Discord page, thegapodcast.com/Discord. Did we have any questions this week, Joab?
No,
that's good. Well, it's not good. Maybe
it's not good. Let's have some questions.
Yeah. So you can jump in there. You can ask us questions. You can play with other people. See Thieves, Battlefield, Anthem this weekend. I'll be playing some Anthem. So probably looking for people to play with that. And otherwise just general talking, general chatting in there.
Some chatting, yep.
Yeah.
You see all my stupid Twitter videos. Did you watch my 2018 Farming Sim Championships highlights?
Not yet, no.
It's pretty good. It's high quality.
Right.
Yeah. Took me about 30 minutes to chop that one together. It was pretty dumb. Yeah.
Okay. You can also find us on social media, twitter.com/GA Podcast, facebook.com/GA Podcast, or you can go to our website, which is thegapodcast.com. It's got all the links to things we just talked about, including all the past episodes of our show. If you want to go listen to our 9.5-hour Game of the Year show, it's still there. You could definitely check it out.
Yep. You definitely can.
It's long.
You definitely should.
Yeah. If you also want to help support this show on Patreon, you can do that. It helps us pay for things like server costs and Joab's terrible drinking habit, but that's cool. We're nearly getting over that one.
We never will.
You can go to patreon.com/GA Podcast, and we appreciate everyone that helps support the show every month, including this new Patreon member, John B. I wrote down Johnny Bravo because I'm like, maybe it is Johnny, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's a different John B. Maybe there are multiple John B's to listen to the show.
Johnny Bravo plays Battlefield with us quite a bit,
yeah.
And we shorten his name to JB,
yeah.
And it gets very confusing because it sounds like Joby in the heat of battle. He'll be like, Jamie, I need some fucking heals, and I'll be like, I'm not even a fucking medic. Like, get the fuck off my back. I'm over here, like, I can give you some ammo, but I can't get... And it'll be like, no, I was talking to Johnny Bravo. Just fucking chill out, Joe. I tried to pitch that he had to have a different name, but it wasn't about it. So, whatever.
Hey, Health Boy.
Yeah, we'll just call him, Health Boy. That's good.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah, appreciate that, John B. Whoever you may be.
Thanks, John. And thank you to all the rest of our patrons, of course.
Yep. It doesn't pay for Joe's drinking habit, by the way. It was a joke.
Yeah.
It was a joke.
Nothing. The only thing that pays for that is the relationship I have with my wife.
Nice. And I think that's it. Have you got anything on Pimp Out this week? Any writing?
Yeah. Head to Red Bull. Check out my interview with Dominic Raymonds. He's the head of Gfinity Australia. Just did a bit of a post-mortem on Season 2 of Gfinity Elite Series and, looking ahead to the next year of it as well. So check that out. And you got a shit ton of stuff, don't you?
I got a bunch, yeah. So obviously Metro Exodus went up last week, which we also talked about. You got to read about that. Trials Rising, my preview for that went up. All of this is on Stevivor.com. I've got an interview, I think I'll do one interview. One interview going up with Professor Fat Shady, who I talked about in the Trials Rising stuff. An Australian content creator turned part-time developer, helping them teach filthy casuals how to play Trials Rising. And really cool dude, very insightful, very polite. Like, seems like he's probably got a good video series.
I'm pretty sure I'm friends with him on Xbox Live.
Yeah.
And the main reason I friended him was because I could see his ghosts. And I could work out how to fucking smash shit from his ghosts. Because he'd always have these sick times. And I would just mimic his movements. Because he was way ahead of everyone else. Right,
yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Like we've seen it a lot. Game critics become game designers or being brought into game studios to work on games. But I've not seen it a lot with YouTubers or content creators that much, especially in Australia. I don't know if I've heard of that before. So that's cool. Good on him.
Nice one.
Yeah, so I talked to him about... I didn't talk to him about the game at all. I talked to him about him. His journey and how he got to where he is. And do you remember a couple years back they had a weird riddle in Trials... one of the Trials games, and they hit a bunch of keys around the world or something like that, and then one of the keys is going to open a box under the Eiffel Tower in 100 years. I don't remember that. It was like this giant ARG.
I do remember there was a massive ARG in Trials, yeah.
So the conclusion to that was some dude found a key and it's going to open it had a note with be at this spot at 2113 or something like that. And use your key to open this box. So it's we're not going to know what is in that box, basically. But I talked to him about that, what he thought it was going to be. Just
the antidote.
Yeah. A box of...
So what, Joe? You'll see.
Nothing. So yeah, anyway, that's cool. You can go read that. I'll probably put that up next week sometime. And the other thing we'll talk about next week. We checked out some Rage 2, but we can't talk about it yet. So...
very true.
And by the time that embargo is next podcast anyway, so yeah, that's fine. But busy week.
Yep.
More stuff next week, even tons of stuff. You're away for the weekend. As you said, you're going to Japan. That should be fun.
I'm gonna do that Mario Kart thing
through
the streets of Japan. Managed to book that in. I had to get my fucking international driver's license.
Cool.
Which was easier than I thought it would be. But, yeah. So, absolutely going to get that done. It was actually harder to book, get a booking for that than getting the license itself.
Right. But how why was it harder?
Because you got to go through this, they've got, this weird web app. And then, so I was navigating that thing, but it didn't really work, and it seemed like it was largely in Japanese, and so I had Google Translate going overtime, and then like tried to book on TripAdvisor, but that didn't work.
Right.
Because it was too close to the date. And then I saw that you can book via their Facebook. And I did that, and that was it. Easy peasy. Done.
Are you just doing that by yourself, or?
Yeah, I'm doing it by myself.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah.
That should be
I
cool.
don't know. Yeah, it'll be good.
Right, and when do you get back? Early next week?
Yeah, Wednesday, I think.
So you miss out on the long weekend.
I do, yeah. I'm working through, I suppose. But I'll be in Japan, so I don't mind so much.
All right, so... so I'll be playing Anthem with Nate. Do you know if the demo will still be running when you get back?
I don't think it will be.
Oh, surely it will. Like, aren't they doing a VIP demo that lasts longer for?
Isn't it 25 to 29? I thought it just started earlier.
Oh, okay. So you get back and it's done, is it?
I believe so.
Right.
No, VIP takes place from 25 to 27. It might have, like, the regular demo kicks off again the next weekend or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I can play that.
And look, depending on, maybe it'll just be a shit show and they'll end up extending it for a couple of days or...
That is true. That is a possibility.
Who knows, man. Yeah, that'll be cool. I think I can talk about it. I've solidified Rainbow Six Siege Invitational again for this year. So
Canada.
I'm going to Canada in like 2 weeks, I think.
Awesome.
I'll be following Fnatic. Fnatic are over there again. They'll be competing for the big prize pool. That's cool because they stomped pretty hard at the last big major tournament. They knocked out EG.
They did.
Norango knocked out the other NA team, Rogue.
Will Dizzle be playing?
Dizzle will be coaching this time.
Maybe they don't have the magic. Maybe they don't have the magic.
Unless
someone's got to go fucking Tanya Harding fucking Magnet again. Like, go up with a cricket bat and get him in the knees.
Right.
So that Dizzle can sub in, you know?
They released the group stages, I think yesterday. I saw them.
Right.
I think we got a good chance.
Yeah.
We're not in any of the groups with EG or the team that won that's won like 4 major
G2.
Tournaments. Yeah, they're now called G2, but last year they were under a different name. So like, we're not in that group, which is good. Yeah, like every time we go to an esports tournament, it's stressed like, oh, we're in trouble. We're in a group with like the number 1 seed. But I think the way that they've played recently has probably put them quite high in the grouping stage. And so they're maybe they've been ranked 4th and they're in their own group with people that I'm like, there's still some good groups in there. There's like, I think Ninja and Pajamas is in there, but we're not against like the 1 or 2 number seed, which is, I think, very handy for our situation. So I'm excited to hopefully get there and watch them play because that will again take place before the main event. Top 2 teams will go through the main event, and I'm hoping the Australians do make it through. So it should be fun. I enjoyed it last year in Canada, especially considering the Australians did make it through, and so fingers crossed that happens again. But otherwise, I'm sure there'll be some cool Rainbow Six Siege year 4. Is that what we're at the moment?
Yeah, year 4.
Year 4
There
content.
better be fucking Aussie operators or expect you to riot.
Yeah.
If you don't riot, I will be pissed.
Right. So I have some more info about that hopefully in the next couple of weeks and exactly what's going down, but it should be fun. I thought you were going to go this year, but it's just me and Nate again.
Yeah, one day.
That sucks.
One day. It's becoming my new QuakeCon.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I've given up on the idea that I'll ever be able to go to QuakeCon.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll get to go to a Rainbow Six tournament. I don't know.
Yeah, I reckon you'll end up at a Dota tournament before me.
Oh, that'd be good. That'd be good.
That'd be
Yeah.
the worst.
I'm going to throw that in your fucking face. I'm going to throw it in your face so hard. Or go to the international or something. Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right.
Yeah, cold. All right.
Cool. That's it. It hasn't been as hot as what I thought it'd be. Like, it's still warm wearing these headphones on.
I'm chilly.
With no fan. Well, I've got my fan off to help the audio a little bit.
Right, yeah. You can't hear my aircon, though.
I can't hear it, no.
It gets cold. It's chilly, you know? It's... Pour one out for poor old Jobo, who's getting a bit chilly. It's got to go put some long pants on. Or just turn the aircon down. up.
Is it
whatever.
is it hot in Japan, or are you going to be? Is it cold?
Cold. It's fucking freezing.
Right.
It's like sub-zero. I think it might even snow or some shit.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, it sounds exciting.
I'm about it.
The last thing I can pimp out is if you want to watch the show on YouTube, you can go to youtube.com/the GA podcast, or just go to thegapodcast.com/YouTube. I think both of those will take you there. And
Nice.
I'll have some game footage up, hopefully, of Far Cry with this one, if you want to check that out on that channel.
Okay, cool.
And
Nice.
I took a little bit, I'm going to take a little bit of footage of Katana Zero. You can check out what that game looks
Sweet.
like. I think that's it. That's the show.
Dope.
See you next week.
Tights. Boys.